Hello everybody, and welcome to another Ultimate guide, this time for the Tesla build Paladin. So, a bit of an introduction first. This build is kinda inspired from the last build that I released, the Zeal sorceress build that also uses 2 dreams runeword. It basically works a bit the same, just that this build has obviously more defense and also conviction. You could maybe say it has about the same defense as the Zeal sorceress, because it kind of feels like that when you do use energy shield probably, but yeah, that's up to yourself to judge. But yeah, I hope you will enjoy this guide here, and there's pretty much not more to say about it. I'm gonna try to make it kind of short, sweet, and hopefully you will enjoy this. It's definitely been fun for me to build this, and it got inspired by a dude who kind of told me about a video I did some time ago where it said, are our Deans Paladins any good? And the answer in that video was pretty much no. I thought they were pretty crappy because I was talking about using Vengeance and Vengeance being crappy because Vengeance is not AoE, it's single target, which is sucky. You know, you always want AoE in this sort of game, but using Zeal together with auras is actually a very great thing. But yeah, thank you again for the little comment there. You know, it's always good to get, people who tell me, oh, but this is completely wrong, you should try this out or whatever, because I might just do it and learn something. So yeah, that's always great. Okay, so the first part, let's cover the stats first, just because it's always good to get that out of the way. Strength, dexterity, vitality. They are very different compared to the gear that you can use. I'm gonna be talking about different gear setups just because people comment a lot about the gear choices that I do make, and I want to make this very optional. Strength, just enough to perhaps only wear something like the Herald of Sakaroon, which is 142. So maybe you should use all gear that doesn't give any strength, and then put points into 142, just because it's nice to be able to wear all the gear in your stash while having a setup that um, allows you to use also the only items that perhaps you want to use in the build. Currently I have not geared my stats around stash items, just because I wanted to show off the build in the best possible way. But for the most part, you should plan your strength so you can use all your stash items without having, you know, say this ring here gives me plus 18 strength. Perhaps you want to include strength without this ring on, and so on. Dexterity, it all very much depends on what kind of shield base you use. Obviously, I went with a Sacred Touch just because Sacred Touch gives the highest percent of block over, say, well, I can just quickly showcase this because this is kind of relevant, I suppose. So a lot of people use Vortex Shields, they know about Vortex Shields. So as you can see right here, right now I have 47% of block. With this one I only have 38. That is why most people go with that Dream Sacred Touch, but yeah, more on that later. But yeah, this dexterity and strength is very much hard to say what you should put into. And then aim for at least 450 vitality. Don't go below 400 vitality. If you can go as high as 500, that's great, but don't go below 400 vitality, definitely. You're never gonna get more than, say, 10,000 attack rating. You could go with I don't even think I have it currently on my paladin, but yeah, you can go with the Calf and Seal or whatever, angelic combo even, which would kinda help on boss damage, but that's pretty much the only thing it's gonna help on, cause Grief has ignore target's defense, which works on all, normal mobs, but it obviously doesn't work on bosses and super elites and so forth. But yeah, consider getting, at least 5,000 attack rating with the help of stuff like a good inventory. So 5000 attack rating should be an aim, definitely. Defense, aim for at least 10,000, but this highly depends on the build as well, especially how many points you're gonna put into Holy Shield. You could actually not even have Holy Shield at all, maybe just 1 point into Holy Shield, and then get it like to plus 10 or whatever after plus skills. But yeah, it's very very hard to say what you should aim for. Life, at least 2000 before battle orders. Mana, you should definitely try to get at least 300 mana somehow. This helps a lot on teleport, just so you don't have to have more than 2 rows of mana potion and so on. Resistance, this also highly depends on the gear, but as you can see, I'm missing +1, +1. It's just too bad. I blame not using a perfect inventory, so this one only gives me +10, and this one only gives me +10. But yeah, if you really want, good resistance, and if you have the budget, get some really high-end shields. Like this is perfect. This has 65 resistance, which is the max, but the Dream Helm only has 14, which is, 16 all resist away from being perfect. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the stats. Pretty much optional, and it all very highly depends on the gear, which we will cover now. So, time for the gear. Always the fun part, I guess. So, let's just go to my stats, because we're gonna be talking both about stash gear and also the gear that I'm currently using. So I would like to say that the gear that I'm currently using is the ultimate gear, the best possible gear, well almost, minus maybe a few stats and whatnot. But basically this gear is also so good that I wouldn't say this is the gear that you should aim for, just because I'm using stuff like build, and I'm also using this completely overpowered unperm duped amulet. At least I guess this must be duped, it's pretty insane, so yeah. Let's go over the gloves first. Honestly, the more I play this build, the more I realize that I need some sort of leech, and that is why I drew cools. And by the way, look at these. I always love to look at these. They're perfect, just -1 enhanced defense. Really funny gloves. But basically, if you have Dracools, this covers, leech and life tap proc, which is just amazing. And obviously with Zeal, you can just tap it 2 or 3 times and you proc the gloves so fast, so easily. And another really important thing is that it has chance to open wounds, which is kinda handy. And then it even gives quite a bit of defense, which helps a lot after Holy Shield. Like these gloves have 107, which is already a lot for sort of the kind of gloves like this. But yeah, I go for these gloves mostly because of the crushing blow, because I have very low amounts of crushing blow when I'm not using Gulliam's face, so that is why I use these gloves here. Obviously these gloves also have other things that are really great about them, but for the most part it's just nice to get extra crushing blow. But yeah, choose either of these gloves here. You could even go with laying of hands, but that sort of depends what build you're looking for. If you're only gonna be running Care Sanctuary, I would go with laying of hands. But yeah. Next up is the ring choice. Obviously, Raven Frost is gonna give you a massive amount of attack rating, cold damage, which is always good to freeze mobs, a lot of dexterity, then the all important mana, which is actually very helpful, just because you can teleport even easily, and then they cannot be frozen. Cold absorb is not that important, but it's still there. Now, let's just check the other ring actually. Look at this ring here. Ideally, I'm just gonna quickly showcase my resistance. So as you can see here, it really does help on capping the resistance, especially lightning, but ideally this would actually have 10% faster cast rate, then it would have like 20 strength, maybe 40 life, and then it would perhaps not have poison resist, but then fire resist instead. I really would love a 10% faster cast rate ring, just because 20 here and 10 there would make you reach a new break point as far as I remember, but yeah. it's minor thing, but it's still, if it's gonna be the ultimate best possible gear, I'm just gonna leave it at that. So, it's all about the build now. I would honestly just go with the Djuntas now. Damage reduction, that doesn't help in PvM, but there's really no other build that's gonna help me a lot. Another really cool thing is the 10% faster hit recovery. Currently I'm using quite a few of these faster hit recovery small champs to reach 86%. I'm actually at 87 faster hit recovery in total. But if I didn't use the spell here, which has no faster hit recovery, I could use two new small champs, which is actually pretty damn sweet. And like I don't need any of the stats. The +1 is great for damage, obviously, but the leads, the slowest target, the strength and dexterity is not that great. It's obviously very good for blocking, to get easier max block. But that's pretty much it. I could also deal with no resistance. Honestly, having the +20 resistance is not that great. But yeah, I like bug build just because it's easy to get on the realm that I play on. It's not very expensive. Yeah, I just go with it because of those reasons. But for most people, you should just aim for 40, 50 if you can afford such good stats with Dungo. But yeah, let's go on with the boots. Now, Gore Riders is such a boring choice. Everyone uses this, and that is just because of the crushing blow. I don't care for the deadly strike. The chance to open wounds is okay. It also has a very high amount of defense, which is always great for a paladin build. And I suppose the requirements -25 is actually kinda nice, so you don't have to have that much strain to use them. But yeah. So let's cover the chest. For the most paladin builds, you're either gonna use pretty much just Enigma or Fortitude. If I wasn't gonna do much, general PvM, I would probably just go with the Fortitude, just because the Fortitude has +30 resistance. It has a massive amount of defense, great amount of life. It has so many things going for it, like the chilling armor proc when struck. Amazing things, really just 10/10 armor. But yeah, it's pretty damn hard to say which one I would go for. I think Enigma is probably the overall best choice just because I'm using this amulet now, which gives me, the +20 faster cast rate, which is great. But yeah, I can't quite decide which one I would choose. But I will, however, say that if I wasn't using Sigurd's build, so I don't get the +20 resistance, Fortitude would be even better. But again, if you're gonna run very specific things like only chaos runs, I would probably just deal with no Enigma and then get the awesome stats from Fortitude. But that is really up to yourself how you're gonna be using this character. So, let's go on with the amulet. Now, the amulet should either be a High Lord's amulet, maybe even a Metal Grid, or a Mara's amulet, just because Mara's amulet has +2 skills, which is always great. But this amulet is just too great, together with Enigma for faster cast rate, and obviously it has some other amazing stats on it as well, but it's mostly just all about the faster cast rate, and the +2 skills is always very great, especially on a build like this that really needs plus skillers. So let's take the dreams. So obviously this build is all about the dream. You're gonna be using dream on helm and shield. Holy Shock, when equipped, those two aura stacks together, so it's actually a +30 aura, which is, a bug, I would pretty much say, but it's just such a great thing. Now, another thing I really want to highlight about dreams is that you really do need high roller dreams if you're gonna get the ultimate build. Like as I mentioned before in my stats, I have currently 87% faster hit recovery, which is just 1 over the breakpoint of 86% faster hit recovery. Obviously, you could just go with the breakpoint below this and then just have no care about faster hit recovery rolls at all. But yeah, it's mostly just for having a really good high-end build that you care about faster hit recovery rolls on these two items. Another thing that's also really great about the items here is that they can give a lot of general stats like mana or life on the shield, which is always very nice when you use call to arms. And yeah, there's not really not much more to say about them. Another thing I should probably also mention is that bone resets looks kinda cool, so you should maybe aim for like a helm that looks good on your character. And definitely go with Sacred Charge over any other bases, just because this has such a high amount of block of any other elite paladin shields. And you could, if you really wanted, you could go with a base that doesn't have plus resistance, and then just get 20 plus all resistance uh, on the normal roll. Like this one gives plus 45 resistance, but it could give as little as plus 20 if it didn't have that roll as the paladin base shield. But getting an offensive roll base shield that has like enhanced damage attack rating or whatever, that's not gonna help too much, but it is an option to go with if you don't feel like you need the plus resistance to be that high. Because 65 plus resistance on a shield is amazingly high. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the build. No, actually forgot about Grief. Obviously you could use pretty much any weapon you want, but Grief, even a very crappy Grief, like the lowest shit Grief that you can get for like, well, on this realm that would be like 4 high runes or whatever, that will work, cause a Grief, even a low rolled one, is amazing damage. Especially Faceplate together with my Merc's Aura, it's gonna make me hit so fast. So I can just quickly showcase just how fast I am hitting. As you can see, it's just amazing attack speed. Absolutely brilliant with a faceplate and a Fanatismo aura. But yeah, let's just quickly cover the grief stats. So obviously, a lot of damage with the damage 397 up to 400. Minus 25 targets defense, which is always very good on bosses. Damage to demons scaled, very great on say baal and whatnot. Fire damage is always good. Then it has 20% deadly strike together, with my cores it's actually gonna be quite high. Or even High Lord's Wrath, which is also a deadly strike, it's just the little stats that helps the seal damage. Prevent monster heal is always a cool thing, so you don't really have to worry about open wounds or even poison damage that much, but yeah. Then it has some other minor stats, but it's pretty much just completely overpowered because of the attack speed, breakpoints and so forth. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the gear. Okay, on with the show. Time for the build. This is probably the most optional build that I have ever done for any paladins at all. Like there's just so many skills that you don't even have to, have to use. You can always say that Hammer Paladin or even the Zeal Paladin build that I have made is pretty damn hard set in stone that you have to take certain points, but this is very much optional. One of the first things you might notice is that I haven't even taken all the points yet. That is just how optional it is. But yeah, let's start off with the combat skills first. So Smite is obviously the one skill wonder. Just 1 point into that is all you're ever gonna need if you're gonna use this build for say Ubers, together with Dracul's gloves. It can actually do Ubers like that, I suppose. Charge and Holy Shield. Holy Shield could also just be 1 point into that as well if you have enough plus skills. Why did I take plus 19? Well, as you can see, right now it's at 19 at 34% chance to block. With Quantum Arms, it's at 35%. It's a minor thing, but you kind of want to consider Holy Shield and Cold Arms together. Obviously, also with Holy Shield plus buffing, because I have a really overpowered Cold Arms, I get 12,000 defense. But again, it's very optional. This build works without any skills. into Holy Shield. Holy Bolt, Blessed Aimer, just pre-quest. Sacrifice, very much a skill that you should consider putting points into. Like if I didn't put any points into Holy Shield and just went with less defense, less chance to block, that would actually be a very good place to put points into, just to get even more Zeal damage, because as you see down here, Zeal receives bonus from sacrifice 12% damage per level. 12%, that's a lot, quite a bit. Uh, so consider putting points into sacrifice. That is definitely a very viable one, because honestly, you don't need over 10,000 defense and all that crazy kind of stuff, especially if you're using Dracul's gloves, because having Dracul's gloves just means you're pretty much immortal for most PvM. So yeah, that's a thing to consider there. But for the video I went with points into Holy Shield. Offensive auras, pretty damn boring tree. You're really not gonna be using any of the auras ever. Blessed Aim, you could actually put points into Blessed Aim just because it gives hard points into Blessed Aim, increase your attack rating or something like that. Holy Fire Thorns, Holy Freeze, that is actually a decent enough skill for survival, maybe leveling and PvP, but that's pretty much the only thing. Obviously no points into Holy Shock as well. Sanctuary, you could perhaps use this sometimes, but I can never really see a point where it would be beneficial that much. And then Conviction. Now, Conviction, I need to note here, one of the things that I actually did wrong when I was making this one is that I forgot this chapter also has +3 to Holy Shield, so I could actually put less points into Holy Shield. But I want to highlight a thing here. So, Call to Arms, what's it called? Battle Command, that gives +1 to skills, and Conviction stops giving resistance at level 25. So you don't want any more skills than 25 plus. So I'm just gonna buff myself now with Call to Arms and then go back. And as you can see now my skill is at, instead of 24, it's now at 25 due to Battle Command. That's just a little thing you need to keep in mind there, because you do not want to put extra points into Conviction. That's not gonna help on anything. So yeah, that was a bit of a highlight. And obviously, there's no really other switch like Call to Arms is. There's no choice. You have to use Call to Arms, and it's very important that you get a shield spirit that gives, have a low requirement of strength. Obviously, you could just go like a Psycho Shield or Lightless if you don't care too much, but this is the ultimate gear, and that is why we go with a Sacred Charge, just because that's funny. Both using Sacred Charge there and there. But yeah. So, defensive auras, this is where you're going to be put most of your points into. Want to highlight a bit of an optional thing, but let's take the most important ones. Salvation and Resist Lighting. You could go with not like max points into Salvation and then put points into Sacrifice and so forth. You could also maybe even take stuff like more points into Defiance or more points into Holy Shield, because Salvation, so Salvation is only 4% lightning damage per level, whereas Resist Lighting is all 12% lightning damage per level, and that is why Resist Lightning is way better than Salvation. So that's a little thing to consider, yeah. But for the build, I went with the best possible Holy Shock damage that I'm gonna get, and that is why I went with max points into both of these skills here. Now, for the last 4 skills that I have remaining, since I'm gonna be using Enigma, which means I have Teleport, Vigor is not really gonna be used anything other than running around in the town and so forth, which is not that helpful, a little bit I suppose, but like my run speed is already fast without Vigor, so it's fine. Defiance, just 1 point into this is always enough just to get some extra defense from Holy Shield. cleansing, you're never really gonna be using cleansing. Like the only point where I would say cleansing would help would be at Bales. The second wave, you know, the the skeletons and whatnot, they curse you and poison you and so forth. It would be kind of useful to use cleansing at that point, but that's pretty much the only part where I would use cleansing in the game. And prayer is never gonna be useful at all. Redemption is also really never gonna be needed because you get quite a bit of leech passively. Especially you're gonna get a lot of leech if you use Dracul's gloves. So yeah, those skills are very much optional. That's why I kinda haven't decided where I want to put the last 4 points I have in this build. But I might just go with Vigor or Redemption just because it's a general good feel to have these ores. Just to know you have them, it's cool, it's fun, it's paladin like to always have these auras in every build that you make. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the build. This was quite a bit of a long build, but again, it's very much optional. Another thing I also really want to say, uh, the Zeal build that I did before really doesn't shine with a lot of plus skills. But plus skills on this build really just makes it so much stronger, especially having both salvation and resist lightning. Getting plus skills into them just helps a lot. So plus skills on this build is really a great thing to have. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the build. So the next part is gonna cover gameplay and so on. Okay, on to some gameplay. Currently I'm in a public game that has, let's see, that must be 7 people with me included, which is almost a full game. And let's see just how slowly, sadly, I do kill it rather slowly. Uh, yeah, let's just go for it. You're gonna see that it's not really that fast. Yeah. I want to highlight a bit of the gameplay now from some higher leveled, as I believe that the paladin should always, you know, be centered around this sort of gameplay, because like it has crushing blow, it scales very well on high player levels and whatnot, but it's still just, it's not very fast, but it's still kind of lags a little bit, I suppose. But yeah, there's really not much more to say. Let's just go to like Halls of Pain, just because that's always popularly landed. By the way, I love the faster cast breakpoint with that amulet there. Why I really just want to highlight using Enigma for general PVM. It's just really sweet to have a melee build that can also teleport. So let's see if I can find a really big pack that can also show off Holy Shock Aura. But as you can see, this little bit of a teleporting here actually made me run out of mana pretty fast. But due to the mana leech on the belt, this little belt here, I get my mana back rather fast. Honestly, if you can get this build and you play on Europe non-ladder, go for it. It's just such a nice thing to have. But again, it's not needed. You can easily play this build without. But yeah, I want to show off a little bit of damage here. So you can see now, it takes like 4 or 5 times now. Let's say 6 times, 7, 8. So that's a good example. Like on one player, this would be perhaps be 2 or 3 ticks, but on such a high level game here, with 7 players in total, the ticks are gonna be rather slower to kill the mobs off. So Holy Shock is not gonna do that much damage, but the next part is gonna be just the classic baal, I suppose, and yeah, pretty much it for the little show up here. But again, I really do want to highlight that you really should center any paladin builds, especially melee paladin builds, around gameplay with other people and not just one player. Just because the paladin has always been a very strong character in group ops and so forth. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Oh, I want to talk a bit of prep. So you're in a new game, and what are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna be buffing up, and just look at this again. It's just Ah, I love this Colt Arms. It's just one of the best items that I have ever gotten. It's way too expensive. This on non-leather Europe, if you had to put a high room price on it, it would probably be around 250 high rooms or something like that. In FG, that is like, if you're gonna get lucky, you can get this for maybe 60 to 80 FG, maybe as much as 100 FG if you can't really find any sellers. But basically, with this little call arms here, when you're in a new game, you're just gonna be poof, poof, your normal call arms, and then because it has +3 Holy Shield, you're also gonna be doing Holy Shield in this weapon usage here. And with this, if I didn't use Holy Shield, I can actually just remove it now. That would actually be totally fine. So as you can see here, with it, I have 11,154. Oh, now it doesn't want to increase, but yeah, the Holy Shield is being stupid. Normally I have 12k defense with this Holy Shield here. It's just so nice. There's just not really much more to say about it. I love this little buff here. Another thing I want to talk about is just how simple the build is. As you can see, let's just count one with Town Portal, Salvation or pretty much only for Ubers. Conviction or is your main aura, teleport, and then Holy Shield. That's the only binds you're ever gonna be using. It's just so simple. So yeah, there's really not more to say about it. I suppose you could bind some of these other things here, but you're never really gonna be using them. Holy Freeze would probably be okay to use, like I could bind that one just because it's nice to be able to freeze mobs. So like I can just quickly go find some mobs now. And now there is no mobs. But yeah, as you can see, as soon as you get close to a mob, it freezes, which is just really nice for, well, freezing mobs and then running away, I suppose, if you're gonna die. It's a nice little utility, especially for PvP. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the general know-how of this build. There's not much more to say about it. You basically just teleport around, and when you're at a mob, you just pop your conviction, teleport, conviction, and then you just spam seal, 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 seal. So, like 3 buttons. Yeah, you're using 3 buttons. It's kind of like the sealed sorceress build, so very simple to use, and that's kind of what I like about it. A seal build that is this simple is just more fun for me. I like simple builds that don't use too many keybinds. That's cool with me. As long as it's active and fun, and this is definitely active. You're teleporting all the time and switching to your aura and spamming an ability. That's cool. Okay, time for some baal. I love this shit. Just saying, how fast does it kill baal? It's such a good benchmark. So let's go for it. So as you can see, it's about 30% slower than my Zeal sorceress. It's not quite as fast, just because on my Zeal sorceress I have the ability, what's it called? Yeah, that ability that cuts down the health in house. But yeah, let's go for it. Oh yeah, I should also use smite. That's very important. I don't want to forget smite. But yeah, basically just hold down hold down smite and keep the aura up, teleport to the mob this way. But yeah, I'm clearly lacking crushing blow when I'm not having the helmet on that I normally use. But yeah, that's baal and his last wave minions. Pretty damn sweet. So I want to make some final words now, so a bit of a random gameplay. Not too long, just kind of trying to make this like the last part of the build, I suppose. The build is quite a bit more fragile than the normal Zealot build, but it's still strong. Like, it doesn't have any weak points, and it's very simple and it's active and fun to play. And another thing that's really awesome about it is that the conviction aura is very great in group play. So sorceresses and so forth is gonna love to have such a strong conviction aura up all the time for this build here. And another thing that I actually also forgot all about, I forgot to talk about the emerg. Haven't even talked about the emerg, but I should probably mention this real fast now. Obviously my merc is, as you can see, it's an Act 1 rogue merc, cold damage. Cold is just the best, I suppose. It uses a faith, a fortitude and endurance. Ideally, if you were okay with maybe it dying, sometimes you will be using a Gulliam's face and not an Andariel's face, so it wouldn't have any leech. And right now I'm using a really stupid jewel in my Andariel's Visage, which I'm gonna change later on I suppose. But basically Andariel's Visage is just for the leech. The increased attack speed with a ward bow. I do believe this might hit a new breakpoint. I couldn't quite remember it standing here talking about it. But basically, Faith is just amazing when it gives the Fanatismo aura, so that's why I'm using it over in Act 2. Obviously a Reaper's Tallmag would also be very good on this build here, but I feel like having Fanatismo aura, Holy Shock aura, and Conviction aura, those three auras together is just so amazing, especially for, you know, an aura-centered Paladin build. And obviously Fortitude is just great. You could also use the Treasury armor if you're gonna hit a breakpoint from the increased attack speed that chest is gonna give, but that's pretty much it. But yeah, there's really not much more to say about it, you know, it's simple. It's just teleport around and then just spam, and then another really cool thing is also it can run very low amounts of mana even if you get mana burn like you saw I did right now. It wasn't really a problem. Let's find just the last pack. Perhaps it must do a little bit large pack. Density is probably a little too small now, I suppose. Yeah, now can't really seem to find a decent pack. I just want to kind of show off the kill speed on a normal pack. Another thing that I should probably also highlight, versus Baal's minions, I only have like 85% hit chance, and I guess against Baal that is a low as 75% hit chance. So hitting Baal is definitely gonna have a few misses if you're using Zeal, but obviously Smite doesn't miss on Baal, so that's always something. But still, oh, now I'm lagging out. That's funny. But yeah, let's go for this little pack here and end for that. Oh, dude. Now I'm lagging for some reason. That's fun. Oh man. That when I'm lagging. But yeah, you know, it's pretty damn fast kill speed, even of, you know, high health mobs. Obviously, on higher player levels, the Holy Shock aura damage is gonna be less and less important, and it's more about seal damage and crushing blow. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. It was definitely fun to make. And I'm sorry for the length now, it got kinda a long guide again, but I do want to cover everything when I do make these guides, and I hope that's okay with you as well. But yeah, as always, have a good one, and see you in the next video.